So what we have there is a really good list of pain points and challenges that we can use in our sales script and use that to grab the prospect's attention and to build interest. Hello, this is Michael Halper with Sales Scripter, and in this video we're going to talk about how to create a sales script for EHR software, electronic health records software. And if you sell EHR or EMR software, you will likely appreciate what we go through here in this video. If you don't sell that type of software, you still might find this helpful, because you can actually go through the process that we are going to go through and just simply replace what we're talking about with your own product or service and create your own sales script. So the process I like to go through to create a sales script starts with talking about what is the product that is being sold. Even knowing I don't want you talking too much about the product, to create the script, we start with the product being sold, and of course the product here is EHR software, electronic health records software. And the next step that I like to do with clients is brainstorm what is included in what you're trying to sell. What are the features? What's in the box? Even if you don't sell a physical product, view what you sell as being a box. And when someone buys that, what is in the box? So when we're talking about EHR software, we're talking about a platform to store medical documents in digital format, tracks patient medications, prints out and sends prescriptions, automated appointment reminders, billing and hospital information systems integration, push and pull data between EHR systems. And I could probably go on, but I want to keep this fairly tight for a short video. So those are some of the main features of the EHR software that we're creating a script for. Then the next step that I like to go through with clients is to identify how is what you sell different from your competition. If it's exactly the same in Me Too, you can skip this. But if your product is different in some sort of way, we want to outline that and definitely have that in your sales script so you can be reminded to emphasize how you're different when talking with prospects. And so some examples of differentiation might be that our system is easier to use, it is easier to set up, it's quicker to enter and access information, communicates better with other facilities and providers. It's better at capturing lost revenue and expenses. So some examples there of ways that you might be different, and this is where you might want to brainstorm those. So once we've outlined the product that we sell, then the next step is to identify who are we creating this sales script for? Who are we going to be communicating with so that we can create a very focused sales script that is very effective at pushing that prospect's hot buttons and is effective at building interest. So we want to identify who are we going after. And so for this sales script, we're going to be talking about selling this EHR software to long-term healthcare providers. And once we have that identified, the next step is to think about, well, when we sell our product to that target audience, what are some improvements that we can create? What is some of the value that we can deliver to that target audience? And what we're basically looking for here are just 3 to 6 improvements that we can deliver for that target audience. And I know personally from working with my clients, this can actually be a difficult step to go through. So here's a trick. Here are 7 ways that just about most products and services help the clients that you're trying to sell to. What you sell can either make something work better, make something easier, decrease the amount of time it takes to do something, increase revenue, decrease costs, decrease risk, improve visibility. So if you take that list and then think about the product that you sell, the features that it includes, you can go through each one and think about, well, it does this. Does that help in any of these ways? And if you identify, yes, it does, then try to put a few words around how it does that. And that might look like something like this. The EHR software can help to make it easier and quicker to access patient information, streamline administrative processes and patient care, improve the quality of care, decrease patient no-shows, streamline billing processes to get paid faster, share information with other providers, improve profitability for the practice. So a really good set there of improvements that we can deliver to long-term healthcare providers. The next step is to think about what pain points can we make go away for the person that we're trying to sell our product to. And our goal here is to think of 3 to 6 challenges or concerns that an ideal prospect might be struggling with or worried about, and then we can include those in our sales script to build more interest and grab their attention. And so if I asked you to do this for what you sell, you could probably think of a couple pain points. But here's the trick. For each of the improvements that we came up with on the earlier step, and keeping in mind the audience that we're creating this sales script for, if we look at each of those improvements, there's usually a pain point for each improvement that goes away. In other words, for each improvement, there is usually an opposite problem or challenge that goes away when this improvement is delivered, or would start to happen if you took this improvement away. So what we can do is we can go through each one by one and think about, well, what is the opposite of that? And the opposite of easier and quicker, that is that long-term health care providers might not be able to easily and quickly access patient information. Administration might be more expensive with paper records. Quality of care could be improved with electronic records. Patient no-shows are costly to profitability. Manual processes slow down billing and getting paid. It's difficult to communicate with other providers and facilities, and profitability is easily impacted by inefficiencies. So what we have there is a really good list of pain points and challenges that we can use in our sales script, and use that to grab the prospect's attention and to build interest. And the next step is to brainstorm questions to ask in our sales script. And if we all agree that it's good to ask questions in our sales script and on our cold call, it can often be difficult to know what to ask, especially on a really quick cold call. Well, here's a trick. We just came up with some pain points. What we can do is we can use each of those to create pain questions. And so what we can do is we can take each pain point and basically create a question that asks the prospect if they have that concern or that challenge. So how easy is it for you to quickly access patient information? How much of a priority is it to make processes more efficient? How do you feel about using paper records? How concerned are you about patient no-shows? How helpful would it be to get paid faster? How difficult is it to communicate with other providers or facilities? How much of a priority is it for you to improve profitability? Whether or not that's a perfect list of questions could be debated, but the process that we're following here makes it easy to brainstorm questions to ask, because we just try to think of a question for each pain point. And those are called pain questions. There's another category of questions that I think are good for your sales script, which I refer to as current state questions. These are questions that just try to figure out, what is the prospect doing in the area where I have something to sell or something to offer. If you sold cars, these current state questions would be, do you have a car today? What year is it? How many miles does it have? And I can't tell you exactly what questions to ask for what you sell, but what we can use as a guide are certain areas to ask about. And so here are some certain areas that you might want to create questions for. And so with selling EHR software, we certainly want to ask, are you using any type of EHR software today? Who are you currently using? What processes are you still using that are manual and using paper documents? Who in your organization is responsible for systems and processes? When does your current agreement expire? How many facilities do you have? How many employees do you have? What is your current no-show rate? When was the last time you looked at improving this area? So just some ideas there about current state questions for EHR software. And the last step is to think of a customer example to share. I always believe it's great to share customer examples on cold calls, in presentations and proposals. Every time you're talking to a prospect, it's a great way to build interest, explain how you can help. So the great thing here is that what we just came up with there, we can repurpose for our customer example, because when creating a customer example, the first step is to maybe think of a customer that might be worth mentioning, somebody that you maybe helped. So our customer is another long-term care provider. And then what did we sell them? Well, we sold them our EHR software. Then you want to think about a pain point that they had, and we could grab a pain point from the earlier step of administration is more expensive with paper records. Then you want to think of a couple value points. And once you have these points, again, all of this is repurposed from what we just went through. We can mix and match this to easily create a very short customer example to say something like, you know, the reason for the call is we actually worked with a long-term care provider, and they were struggling with the challenge that administration was more expensive because they were using paper records. We helped to solve that by providing our EHR software, which helped them to streamline administrative processes and patient care, and ultimately it helped them to improve profitability for the practice. So a really quick customer example there that I just basically repurposed stuff that we had already thought of and put together. All right, so that process that we went through there, what that basically does is that gives us what we would refer to as building blocks. So once we go through that, we end up with a value points building block, a pain points building block, a customer example building block. The great thing is that once you have those building blocks, you can mix and match those to create your sales scripts, to create all different types of sales scripts. For example, you can use those blocks to create a cold call script. You open with your value proposition, try to drive to pain questions, current state questions, and ultimately towards the end of the call, you might share product details and a customer example. So the hard part is brainstorming those points, which is the process I went through with you. Once you've done that, to create your script is extremely easy. And then you have all sorts of different things to talk about when you're talking with prospects. And here's the flow that you could go through to talk about those different things. Now, one thing I want to point out is that what we came up with there is a sales script for customers that are not using EHR software, because all of the value points and pain points are more for non-install type of customers that have manual and paper documents today, and we can create all these improvements and solve all these problems. The challenge with that is that when you sell a product, if sometimes you are doing a competitive replacement, you actually need a different script. And this is a great example of that, because all those improvements and pain points aren't applicable to someone who is using another EHR software that you want to replace. So what you need to do is you actually need to go back through that sales message process and go back to the differentiation points. It's the differentiation that you need to focus on when you're trying to replace a product and maybe you need a competitive replacement sales script. Now, I didn't want to do this in this video because it would be too complicated and long, but if you really want to be prepared with both your script for customers that aren't using anything today, that's what we created. And then the additional step to be prepared would be to create your competitive replacement script, or your points to put in your script for if the customer is using something today. And the way that you would come up with that is that you would use these differentiation points and go back through the value, the pain, and the pain question steps, focusing on this differentiation. What does this differentiation mean in terms of value and improvements? What does it mean to the prospect if they can communicate better with other facilities? What is the pain point that makes go away? So it's just something I want to point out, because there are some products where a lot of the calls are competitive replacements, and that's what you need to do in order to be prepared for those calls. You can also use all those building blocks to create an appointment script. So a lot of people try to spend a bunch of time creating a cold call script, and then they either improvise for the appointment or they spend a whole another set of time to create their appointment script. You can use those same bullet points. You talk about the same things, ask the same questions. I like to open appointments more with current state questions and pain questions, so I can learn a little bit about what's going on with the prospect. Then I sort of back into pain questions after that. But here's an example of a flow and how to use those blocks for your appointments. You can also use those building blocks for email campaigns. So here's an example of 6 emails that you can put together in a cold email series, a cold email campaign, with email 1 being the value points building block, then the pain points building block, customer example, pain questions, product, and whatnot. You can use those exact same building blocks to create your voicemail scripts. One of the most likely outcomes when you make a cold call is that you're going to get the voicemail box. And instead of just asking for a callback, share some of your sales message, educate the prospect on why they should talk to you at some point and how you can help them. And you can use those building blocks over a number of different voicemail messages to educate the prospect. This sales message that I showed you, EHR software, is actually in the Sales Scripter software. In the Sales Scripter software, what we've done is we've put a lot of sales messages for commonly sold products and services. So we've gone through and answered those questions of what are the improvements, what are the pain points, what are the pain questions, and we've gone through that process for many commonly sold products like IT consulting, accounting, recruiting, and we've also put what I just showed you here today into our library. So you can see here in our preloaded message library is electronic health record software. So everything I showed you here today is actually in the Sales Scripter software. And here's that process that I actually went through. You can see it's exactly the same: target, value, pain, questions, and whatnot. And all of the answer boxes are already filled in when you grab one of these. Whether you grab one of our preloaded messages or you create your own sales message using Sales Scripter, what happens is that it uses all those bullet points to create those building blocks, and then the software mixes and matches all those blocks to create a whole library of different sales scripts and email templates and voicemail scripts. What I showed you earlier of how you can string those blocks together in emails is actually done here by the software. So there's a whole folder of email templates, and it gives you individual emails using each of those blocks, and then it'll also give you a series of emails using those different bullet points and blocks. So all the work is done for you. All you have to do is answer the questions and create those bullet points and blocks. And if you're lucky enough to sell something that we've already created a preloaded message for, a lot of the work is done for you. That's pretty much it. If you have any questions or want more information, the best place to go is salesscripter.com. If you want more tips, there are plenty of videos on our website. There are also ebooks you can download for free. If you have questions on the product of SalesScripter, the software, this is the best place to go. There are a ton of demo videos that show you all the different features. If you want to contact us, this is the best place to go. You can get our phone number, email address, chat with us as well. Thanks for being here. Hope this was helpful, and we'll see you on the next video. Have a great day. Take care. Bye.